Hello guys, and today we have some really good news to discuss. Number one is the destruction of Russian military infrastructure, supplies and also some troops located in the temporarily occupied Luhansk. It was done with an accurate and precise ATACMS strike. And also some beautiful decisions made during the meetings in France, the support of people of the United States and people of France, and potentially Mirage aircraft coming to Ukraine. These are capable of carrying scalp missiles already provided by France. And I hope that we will see this change on the front line sometime really soon, and more of Russian military infrastructure will be destroyed not only on the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, but also close to the front lines on the Russian side. Let me tell you more about these important events and what they mean from an ordinary Ukrainian perspective. My name is Anna and I vlog daily from Ukraine since the start of the brutal Russian invasion. So if you're new to the channel, you support Ukraine, please subscribe and help us fight against Russian propaganda and fake news. And my longtime friends, check your subscription status and hit notification button. Tonight, Ukraine managed to destroy a number of military infrastructure objects in Luhansk region. And it is extremely important because at the moment the city and the region is heavily used as a platform for attacks and also as an important logistical connection by the Russian army. What is also important, many of these ammunition supplies that we managed to destroy last night were really closely located to a highway that connects them directly with the Russian Federation and is one of the most important ways through which Russians actually supply their troops in Ukraine. And by these accurate, precise strikes, we destroy more and more of such objects, leaving these territories unprotected by Russians, which is good for their future return home. We can see in social media, because Russian soldiers are not very media literate and they spread and share lots of information, and we know that it was close to 20 different explosions. The majority of them were not stopped by the air defense of the Russian army. We understand it's not working the way it is supposed to. Plus, it's really difficult for the old-style Soviet technology to stop ATACMS missiles, and this is important. But I wanted to stress your attention to this destruction of Russian military infrastructure on the temporarily occupied territories from a little bit different angle. This is actually an illustration why any kind of frozen conflict, frozen war, any ceasefire or negotiations with Russia are impossible until the complete defeat of the Kremlin regime. Why? Because we see that back in 2014, because of a very brutal mistake of the world and our mistake too, we were advised not to escalate. The policy of appeasement was chosen towards Putin, which dictators and authoritarian leaders always treat as a green light to continue. So starting from 2014 and up to the start of the full-scale invasion, Russia was rebuilding, resupplying the territories of the temporarily occupied Ukraine with this military infrastructure. They were building airfields, they were reconstructing old Soviet things, and of course they also brought and dislocated lots of Russian troops and various military supplies, ammunition on the territory that they have occupied in 2014. And this was not to protect these territories, and this was to prepare for the next attacks and next offensives on Ukraine. So, if we imagine that someone crazy persuades Ukraine to stop for a moment, be sure that all of the occupied territories will be turned into more and more of Russian military bases, and we should not allow that. 50% of people watching these videos are new to the channel. Remember to subscribe. This is the easiest way to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine and help us spread more information about Ukrainian resilience, which is very important right now. So, first of all, we know that any agreement signed with Russia is not worth the paper on which it was signed, and it's not news. It was the same back in Soviet times and the times of the Russian Empire. But also we have to realize that any pause in this war until it is finished with complete defeat of Russia is taken by Russia as time to back themselves, to, I don't know, resupply themselves, to remobilize them, and to use more and more of Ukrainian territories as platsdarms, as military bases. We see how they spoiled the nature and beauty of Crimea. We see how they turned Donetsk and Luhansk into extremely depressive military territories where it is impossible for people to live, to study. They simply put all of that evil infrastructure close to civilian districts or previously inhabited by civilians, and they use it for the future attacks on Ukraine. And right now, with the support of our allies, using either Ukrainian-developed drones, Ukrainian-modified Neptune missiles, or using long-range missiles of our friends ATACMS, Scalp, Storm Shadows, HIMARS systems, we are able to clean these territories. But if we were clever enough, if the world was more understanding back in 2014, it was possible to prevent all of this from happening. Once again, we will never agree on any ceasefire or negotiations with Russia because this will simply mean a postponed and larger war next year, next 2 years, or something like that. Believe me, I am Ukrainian and I know it. And in this context, I'm really happy that our allies demonstrate their support and understanding. And today, President Zelensky met with President Biden and received another proof of support and also military aid for Ukraine, and a beautiful message from President Macron, who becomes, I don't know, maybe the best friend of Ukraine right now, about the Mirage aircraft, which are capable of carrying this very mentioned Scalp missiles. And now we also use them on modified Su aircraft, but definitely Mirages are the ones developed for them. This will mean the preparation of Ukrainian pilots and of course will be postponed, but still this makes our country stronger militarily. And for me personally, what is the most important aspect of these promises and conversations is the very deep understanding of the situation by the leader of France, who says, we understand it's not a local conflict, it's not about Ukraine. If not stopped here, Russia will continue and one day may reach the lands that now seem totally impossible. Once again, before the start of the full-scale invasion, it all seemed totally irrational, totally illogical for me too. It is irrational, it is illogical, but that's the way Russia is. So we can discuss that tomorrow in our live stream. I plan to talk more about this new permission for us to target Russian territory, what this means to Ukraine, what dangers this can bring, and how we will use this permission in future, and what we have achieved in this couple of days. So remember to join me 9 p.m. Kyiv time, but also remember that we have electricity outages, and if something goes wrong, I will update you on the community tab. Hopefully this will not prevent us from talking, but everything is possible in Ukraine. But I am resilient just as my countrymen, and I plan this live stream tomorrow. So join me and hopefully we will make it. Also, join me on Instagram. I'm active there, on X and Threads, and in our Discord community. We have a beautiful merch shop with lots of items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine, and a new beautiful collection of friendship with flags of countries allies and most active on this channel. And also, I want to thank my patrons, sponsors of the channel, and beautiful people who buy me coffee and help me film and write more. I'm honored and blessed to have you in my life. Thank you for all the conversations that you hold in your countries, for all the work that you do to support Ukraine, and united we stand. Slava Ukraini!